Good morning, good evening, or good day. Welcome to the Z to Z podcast, the home for Xbox achievement hunters and gamerscore junkies. I am your host, Brandon Freeman. Thank you so much for listening. At Z to Z, we love gaming, and in particular, grabbing achievements and gaining gamerscore. We do news, reviews, and interviews. If it's about achievements, we'll unlock it. We've got a great show this week. Well, I guess that's premature. We haven't actually recorded it yet. I mean, it could be total garbage. Wait, why am I still recording this intro? Anyway, I'll base it off a past experience. It should be a great show. This week, we discussed the fallout of Microsoft's house cleaning. And of course, we have zombie news, noms and discos, and a couple pals just palling around. You can find show notes for this show as well as previous shows on our website, z2z.com. This is lucky episode 13. You can also contact us with questions and comments on Twitter at Z2Z, that's ZEDTOZED, or email us directly at contact@z2z.com. Today's show was brought to you by the achievement Luck of the Irish from the game NBA Live 10. This is a special holiday-themed achievement for St. Patrick's Day on March 17th. This achievement is one of the 26 of the 33 that are not discontinued. It couldn't be simpler, really. Win a single game using any St. Patrick's Day jersey in a single solo game. The following teams wear such jerseys: the Chicago Bulls, the New York Knickerbockers, Toronto Raptors, and of course, the Boston Celtics. So grab a pint and a shillelagh and beat the tar out of the Minnesota Timberwolves. I mean, everybody else does. You won't get a pot of gold, but 5 gamer scores up for grabs. Special thanks to developer and publisher EA for that wee bit of fun. And side note, I thought I would read that whole thing in an Irish accent and then decided that would be a terrible idea. If you, our fantastic listeners, have a great idea or a suggestion for an achievement sponsor, please let us know. You can contact us via Facebook on our Facebook group, of course, Twitter at Z2Z, ZEDTOZED, email contact@z2z.com. You could even leave your suggestions in iTunes or podcast review sites and rate us while you're there. That would be awesome. So let's get this show started with my co-host. I'm running with one co-host today, and it's Crandy. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing all right.
Fantastic. What's in the mug today?
Oh, I've got a good one this week. I actually forgot I had this one until I found it again.
Secret mug, huh?
Yeah, it's one of the good ones too. I don't know how I forgot about it, but it's a mug from the NCALM. And now you want to take a guess what that is?
NCALM.
You should know what it is. I mean,
I'm gonna work on something here. I love acronyms. NCALM, the National Collegiate Association for Ladies Mowing, for lawn mowing. That's what it is.
Not quite. It's the National Center for Airborne Laser Mapping.
Nice.
And they have a website. Apparently, it's ncalm.org, and they have a phone number if you want to call them. I have no idea what that is.
They're gonna get so much ZZ traffic there now.
Yeah. It's gonna be.
They're gonna be like, can we laser map video game like the Xbox logo on the moon?
No, exactly.
I guess I don't know anything.
Airborne laser map it though. Like we can't just laser map it. It's got to be airborne.
Oh, so, of course. How are people going to see it if it's not up in the air?
So I don't know why that has a mug or why it ended up at Goodwill and was being sold at Goodwill, but.
Oh, I can tell you why it was at Goodwill.
Yeah, but you'd think they'd kind of select the best mugs, but
the chairman of the NCALM died, and all his stuff went to a state, and they just it was like, oh well, what are you gonna do with this? I don't know. Throw a quarter on it.
I think it was $1 actually. It might even sell a sticker on it.
That's an expensive. You left the sticker on it?
No, it doesn't. I got taken off. But no, the Goodwill here is pricey though. They're all like $1 or $2.
Man, that's crazy.
I know.
I'll have to hit up my local. I've got a Goodwill just down the street here. I should take a run through.
Got some. Good
I found
ones.
a lot of. There's a lot of like handmade pots, like stuff that you made in like high school. You know, when you're learning.
Yeah.
We
don't have any of those here. I think the
I
weirdest thing that we bought there was they were like custom made like dinner plates. They've got these people's kids on them. I don't know who they are.
That's awesome. The
So
guy called
now
Jimmy.
we serve guests with people's children on plates that.
Oh my
we
God,
don't
that's super creepy.
Yeah.
We should probably get the show started in earnest here. We got a few housekeeping things, so you might notice we're going to play around with the format a little bit. Nothing crazy, but our listener feedback, which we absolutely love. We're going to start spreading that out a little bit, certainly throughout the show, and hopefully we can get to all of it in the show. But because you guys are just so awesome and love to be, this is like a fun, growing community that we've got here, and so we want to encourage everyone to keep sending all this stuff in. So we're going to try to get to as much of it as we can, but we also, don't want to have crazy long shows. But what this community has started already. Terragon is calling it the 360 Regional Compatibility Testing Service. That sounds official. We should get business cards.
It does.
Well,
I am getting Z to Z business cards this week.
Well, yeah. So this is going to be your title, your game title. You'll be Crandy, the lead 360 Regional Compatibility Testing Supervisor. Anyway,
official.
So during this week, it was great. So Dave K, right, runs the at True Achievement Twitter handle. He retweeted a request from Dwagonite. And Dwagonite asked if a particular game was region free, and so Terragon jumped on there and was like, "Hey, and actually, Cranny, you can probably fill in. I mean, how did this end up going? Did you guys just quick jump on and start throwing it into your boxes?"
He saw it, and then he sent me a Skype message. And he didn't have the game. He sent me a Skype message. Then I just went and grabbed it off my shelf, popped it in the other boxes, and it was good to go. Turns out that one was actually in the region sheet too. So any of the games we have in our region sheet will be even easier. And especially as that grows, it'll be even easier to look those up and have a larger database of things that have been tested.
Absolutely. Yeah. So you got Dwagonite, his information, hit him back on Twitter, and so Terragon saying, "Hey, this is official now. We have kickstarted the 360 Regional Compatibility Testing Project." And we got the people who have raised their hands to kind of help out. So, maybe we just have this, kind of Twitter feed going. If you got questions about regional things, we're trying to put together like a list. And you'll notice in the show here, we're gonna get to PAL consoles, like I mentioned in the intro. And so, that we're going to end up hopefully compiling lists of these. And if we can't do it, get on the website and bother Rich and Jack over at True Achievements on their site wishlist forums, because now you can vote, and filtering by region or having region specific filters is one of the site wishlist options, and we can get to that at later in the show. But that is an opportunity for you to get this moving if regional consoles are your thing, getting those regional stacks going. We also coming up, so registration has officially closed for the Ultimate Head-to-Head Challenge, and by the time this comes out, we'll be well into week 1. I hope everybody's matchups are turning out great. What was the count on that? We had like 1,600 people, 1,700 people get in on that. Oh man, I'm just so thrilled with the response on that. That's just fantastic. And I cannot wait for it to start. I've held off on some games because I'm like, I was going to try and do the birthday contest for the True the Achievement Hound site, and you have to unlock. So this month is Nick Hawkeye. So you've got to unlock a game that starts with an N, an I, a C, a K, and I had done my goal ones already, but I had some time off after finishing a game this week that I was like, oh, you know what, I should maybe just wait and see like what shows up on my list, because if Nicktoons MLB shows up, well, that'll be my N, and I'll go for that achievement during the week. So 1,756 gamers are going to do it. It looks like Rich has taken my suggestion on only having one buy at a time. And so he's kind of laid out a plan, but of course that's all assuming everybody is single elimination and nobody just shows up and doesn't unlock an achievement during the week, which is entirely possible.
I'm sure will happen out of 1,700 people.
Yeah.
There's bound to be at least a couple.
Yeah, a couple no-shows, absolutely. And I mean, even if maybe the 20, you're just like, well, they're not on my list. Like, for me, if something in BioShock 2 comes up, it's like, well, I don't really want to play BioShock 2 because I'm not quite finished with BioShock 1, even though, I could likely do those out of order. It's not a huge deal, but I want to get through 1, that experience,
yeah, but with a
and then
game
move
like
to 2.
BioShock, it's not one you want to
Just
really,
dabble in.
yeah,
Right.
you got to get into it.
Right.
But on the plus side, neither game is particularly long, so even if you really wanted to get those achievements in BioShock 2, you could probably finish off 1 and then start up 2.
Right. Yes, so that's starting up. That had started up this week by the time this comes out. So I am so pumped about it, and I hope I'm doing well. So future Brandon, don't screw this up. Get to round 2 at least.
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking that too. It's like, am I going to make it past round 1? Like, am I going to care enough? It depends on my matchups, I suppose.
Yeah,
but
right.
We'll see. I ended up having to add another game in my collection to get enough achievements, I think. I unlocked too many in Killer Instinct.
I watched that this week. Yeah, you put up some nice TA in that. We had a tweet this week from Doughboy, and he said, "Hey, who's the guy got a retweet around here to win a Steam key?" And keep up the great work. So thanks, Doughboy. So Steam key aside, we actually have enlisted the help of Gleam. You guys might be familiar with that on Twitter, to help with some of our giveaways. And we actually have a giveaway up right now for Beat the Beat. And you can go to our Twitter page. That's where it starts. That's the gateway drug, is at ZZZEDTOZED. And from there, you can click on the Gleam link. It's going for a week, so if that went up today, you still have probably 18 hours or so before that thing closes to get in if you haven't seen it already. But the reason I'm mentioning it is because this is likely how we're going to do things in the future. So if you're interested in game codes and stuff, this will be one avenue with which we will give them away. So be sure to follow us on Twitter.
Also, a quick note here: we switched up the Facebook page, so we moved from the group to a likable page now. So that's one of the entry options for Gleam, is visiting the page. You don't have to like it, because apparently you can't do that anymore. But we would like it if you like it.
Yeah.
So that's the new Facebook for Z.
Perfect. So we're gonna move into what we've been playing this week. Let's get this thing out of the way. Crandy, what have you been up to as far as Xbox has been concerned?
Well,
I guess not even just Xbox. Expand your horizons, if you will.
I don't think I have anything exciting this week. Well, I do actually. I got an IBM Model M2 keyboard this week.
Oh yeah, that's right.
My wife salvaged it from work. I was very excited, and so I've been working on restoring that. Unfortunately, it's not the buckling spring version, but it's still pretty excellent.
Those are just like the obnoxiously loud ones.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I hope to get a buckling spring one eventually, but for now, this one will do. And then on to games. I played Guitar Hero Live. I hit 100 million on the Xbox One version. Horrible achievement. I'm about 8 million off on the 360 version, so I've almost racked up 200 million points in GHTV across the two. Horrible game. Just really, every time I play it, just a horrible game.
Just painful.
It's brutal.
That'll fit into a topic I have later, so that's great.
Finished off Roblox. I did not pull a frame.
Hooray!
I was in party with a couple people with Planting and Spazpole, and Spazpole pulled a frame.
Yeah, he mentioned it on Twitter.
Yeah,
pulled a frame.
I believe Planting did not pull a frame. Pretty sure he didn't, but Spazpole definitely did. Awesome. Played Cameo, Elements of Power, finished the story off. Okay game. Very, very short, though. If you want like 700 points and don't care about completions, or like 600 to 700 points, real easy, like 6 to 8 hours, maybe,
nice.
To do 100% in the story. And then I started working on A ranks, which is pretty tough. But I got one of them. So I only need another 50 points, which is just one more A rank to finish off that 750 for a rare replay. That'll come back to it and finish it later. But I'm getting close on rare replay.
Cool.
And Killer Instinct. I hit killer rank this week. So
That's
that was exciting.
When does the Season 3 reset go in? Or, well, you're assuming reset, but when does Season 3 launch?
Season 3 comes out, I believe it's the 29th. They were like, it's coming out March. It's coming out March. And like, March 29th.
Yeah,
like,
right. Technically, it's still March.
Still March, but not really. So, yeah, I hit Killer. Probably get reset. I'm actually kind of hoping I get reset because it's going to make the rank matches a whole lot easier.
Sure.
But if I don't, then I get a nice, cool tag on my name when I play Killer Instinct now.
Nice.
And, of course, a little bit of Gra. I didn't play very much Gra this week, but I did play some Gra.
Gotcha. So that comes into a question from McLovin Legend on Twitter. He says, how does Randy get himself up the Gra leaderboards? He says he's read the Gra guide, but he doesn't understand Gra, and Gra.
Yes.
So I think that's up to 8 now.
We should have a little counter that just every
right?
time.
On the YouTube page or the YouTube stream,
yeah.
Just find a way to do a counter. Yeah. Keep up at home.
So, Gra is kind of weird in that it says it uses True Skill, but it doesn't use True Skill. So, my thing is, I think they intended to, but didn't end up implementing it and use their own skill system. So, how it works is if you're 4 skill levels apart, the matches don't count. You can play the matches, but there's no movement on the boards. You don't move up if you win. You don't move down if you lose. Unless the person 4 levels below you wins. So if the person 4 levels above wins, the match doesn't count. If the person 4 levels below wins, the match counts. And when you're between levels 9 and 20, the amount of XP lost, or the amount of XP transferred between accounts in a win, or in a match, I guess, not a win, is equal. So when you have your accounts, you have 2 accounts that you cycle between each other for the solo and team leaderboard, respectively. You can use the same 2 accounts. Inevitably, one moves up the leaderboard you're not trying to take. So right now, I'm trying to take solo, and I'm pushing a dummy up the team leaderboard at the same time because I have to. So what you do is you win enough matches to move up your ranks in solo, and then you have to derank those accounts in team. So team will play itself, so you actively play solo, switch over to team, it plays itself for a couple hours, and you switch back to solo, and you repeat this. It's looking like 300 times, more than 300 times.
My goodness.
Yeah, a lot of times. And that's how you play Gra. Universal's a whole nother story. That's a whole mess of a story. But when I do finish Gra, which I will finish, I think we will do a special Gra episode, and I'll talk all about that. And I'm even going to scan my Gra journals. There are many pages, but I think I'll put in the effort, and I will scan them and post them to the website so you can see my journey over the last 4 years.
That just sounds miserable.
It really is.
Goodness
It
gracious.
really is miserable. So that's Gra for the week.
There you go. So McLovin,
a very long-winded answer for you, McLovin.
Right? Are you jumping in? You'll have to let us know if that's on the list. Something tells me I'm going to skip that one.
Yeah, probably. On the plus side, though, it is very easy gamer score aside from the leaderboard achievements. Like, you can put cheats on and just run through the campaign twice and get like 600 points or something. So if you don't care about completions,
well, there you go.
And I think it's like $2 at GameStop. It's real cheap. It's pretty fun.
There you have it. Wonderful. Well, this week I only played a few games this week. So on Saturday or Sunday, my son and I went and revisited Rayman Legends on the One.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, super good. So we got our last, I think we had 4 teensies left to get. And so we collected all the teensies, and then that essentially locks, you have all the trophies and stuff for the levels. So unfortunately, I went back and counted. I'm missing 17 gold medallions, and the gold medallions are the ones where you have to get 600 looms in a level. And I'm sure, between the two of us, we just missed it barely, but that was on my plan to do for this week's achievement scavenger hunt, where you need a color. And so I was going to use the color gold and finish Gold Attic, but I don't know if I can get 17 done. I mean, I'm going out of town this weekend. Like, it's going to be tough. So we'll see. But getting close to that one now. So that's my new journey. And I guess I can't pull a Freem because it's not a consecutive day thing, but I'm going to be trying to do like my dailies in Rayman.
You're going for the big leaderboard achievement.
Going for my awesomeness.
Well, after the show, at some point, I'll show you how to play Rayman good, because I did it twice.
Oh, yeah?
And I did it pretty fast. I think both of them, I think the 360 version took me 3.5 months. The one version took me 3. So it was...
But there's a system?
Yeah, it was. There's a few techniques that will substantially improve your time trial times.
Sure.
Or not a time trial, whatever. The timed ones. The racing ones.
Yep.
And they will... they're pretty substantial.
Fantastic. Well, I look forward to it. I also this week I put most of my time into Guacamelee. When I finished up, I said I was kind of close to the boss, and I was going to do all the collectibles and find all that stuff. So that's really what I focused on, was all the collectibles. Got everything I needed for that, and then I spent 3 nights and did the hard playthrough. And I bought the DLC and got that completion. So I finished that bad boy off. That was super fun. I really, really liked this game. The 2 achievements that probably gave me the biggest headache were fighting the Jaguar guy with Uye Chivo, the old goat dude. So you gotta fight him in a rematch. And so like I took forever trying to beat him on the first go round. And then when I finally did, I was like, yeah, take that, loser. And then it didn't pop. And I was like, wait a minute, what do you mean? Nope, you have to go back and revisit it and then do the fight again. And so what the nice thing about Uye Chivo is that he has unlimited stamina. So you can just spam your special moves. But the Javier Jaguar, keeps changing shields and stuff on you and then switching between Light World and Dark World. And so like it's just crazy manipulation of the controller. It's super fun because you got to be really on point, but it also fits with like my button mashing mentality. So that's my kind of fighting game where I can just button mash and hopefully be successful. The other achievement is where you've got to be Javier Jaguar and do there's 2 rooms in the temple on hard mode, the skeleton arena rooms. Not as hard as the Javier fight, but they were pretty darn tricky. It took me, because you can't take a lot of hits, which is unfortunate in hard mode. The final boss of the game, Kalaka, I had a harder time on his first form, just because he only does 2 moves, so it's easy. He telegraphs him pretty well. You just got to get into a rhythm with that. But then the final boss, like his final form, I didn't even get hit. Like, he telegraphs his moves so far in advance. It's like you see his animation, and then you can go do whatever you need. Like, you can leisurely walk and go duck somewhere or move somewhere, and then like you have to wait even like 2 or 3 seconds for the attack to come. So
it's always kind of
not
frustrating
hard
when that's the case. Get those final
because it
bosses.
takes so long.
Well, not
yeah.
just that, just the final boss. That's the second part's easier. Or the final boss is super easy. Like. Always back to Demon Souls. That was one of the most disappointing ones ever.
Right. Yeah, you mentioned that on a previous show. I remember that. The final thing I did this week is, so I finished Guacamelee before the tournament, right? That was my goal. And so my last open goal is to revisit Assassin's Creed Revelations. And so last night I went back and, oh my God, finding the Animus fragments is so miserable. It is just the worst. Now, thankfully, I had done some already to get to those stupid first-person Desmond levels. So I was up at like 30. And then once you get to 50, your map totally opens up, and it shows you where they all are. So it's like, oh, thank God. Now I can at least see where I'm going instead of trying to follow, like click a YouTube guide and then move to the next one, and it just takes so long. So now they're all on the map, and I can go and just track them all down. Yeah, so lots of cleanup in that one.
When they put collectibles on the map, they become so much more tolerable.
Right.
I think Bully Scholarship Edition did that, and it was not difficult at all. But it was almost pleasant because you got to explore the map, but you weren't running around aimlessly for hours trying to find the last two.
Looking behind dumpsters and all just sorts of weird stuff. Totally agree. So all of that we talked about in the recap there fits very nicely with what our listener feedback was. And so we'll start with pulling a Freem. Spazpole started it off, and he frustratingly said, "I pulled a Freem and screwed up my Roblox streak. What the hell?" So he was frustrated. And Griffey saw on my friend feed today, he says, "Oh, hold on. This is Griffey95. So we have the Freem, which he claims to have already done twice on Roblox. He says, but what should the Randy and the Terragun be?" So Big L jumps in, and his suggestion, and I'm close to these. So this is Big L's comment, and of course he butchered Terragon's name. That's as he's wont to do. Tiragoyning is definitely buying way too many games just for the sake of buying games. That fits very closely with my definition, my personal definition.
I do that. Well, less so lately. I've been kind of cutting down lately, but no, that's definitely a problem of mine.
Yeah, so Terragon is just buying games wantonly, and so I'm going to use it in a sentence. It's a verb, and you have to use it using the gone part, right? So this is the sentence, right? If you look up Urban Dictionary, this is what it'll be. Terragon bought me 7 new games. Or, I'm going to Terrago spend a lot of money at the Microsoft store. And that's if you want to use it in the present tense. So that's my take on what Terragoning is.
I think that's pretty good. If any of our listeners disagree, tweet us. We'll have a debate. Or post to Facebook.
Yeah, Big L says that, and we disagree here. Big L says, crannying is being able to own consoles from all different regions before your Sweet 16. How impressive. My definition of crandying is when you play a garbage game ironically. And
that's a good one. I like that one.
To use it in a sentence, I crandied Let's Cheer, even though I already have all the achievements. Right?
I like that.
So
I think we're going to stick with that one. I approve of that definition. See, somebody else commented about playing a game for way too long.
Yes.
I like that one too.
That's a good one.
But I think the playing a bad game, ironically, is much more appropriate.
Yeah. So Avenged Against mentioned his crandying is games that you've crandied past completion. Like you play for way too long, you're already done, you spend way too much time. And so he says, I played Diablo 3 way too much, even though, and he even bought it on PC just to keep playing it. Jelly Bigfoot jumps in and says he played Morrowind on the original Xbox long after he should have been done playing that.
I think it shouldn't be past completion, though, because the games I play for excessive amounts of times are still incomplete.
Right.
So Gra is still incomplete. Yeah, RuneScape, can you complete RuneScape? Maybe. That one, I'm going to check as we continue through the episode. I think I might have broken a year of playtime on RuneScape.
Wow. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. So the other thing that Avenged Against mentions is he has another suggestion. He says, tonight's drinking words are when Freem says, and these don't count because I'm just saying them to set the stage. When Freem says awesome, fantastic, or wonderful. I think absolutely should be on there too.
Yeah.
Because I listened to the last episode and I was like, man, Freem, stop saying fantastic so much.
Man, our listeners are just going to be destroyed.
They're going to be S-faced.
They're going to be destroyed. Like, we got Gra left and right. We got all these new
Freem's
words.
Fantastics.
Yeah.
It's Freem's Fantastic Drinking Game. There's 3 in a row right there. You better just stick to seltzer water.
I think Gra is probably good for now.
Sure. All right. Well, we got a couple shout outs too. You had mentioned it at the show. You had been talking to Planting, Warren. Obviously he runs the GTA SC. and he mentioned the ZZ podcast on his GTAC recap, and it wasn't like he was just like, "Yeah, I've been listening to the show." Boom, put a link in there. Awesome, thank you so much for doing that. But he also chimes in with a Twitter question. He says, "If you could recommend one game of all time, what would that be?"
So are
Do you
we
have an answer?
talking like favorite game, or like a game, like if you could pick one game to play forever, what would
The
it
way
be?
I'm reading it is the latter, that you have one game to play for the rest of your life. You're done with other games. Like, I'm sorry, nothing else exists. You're only allowed to play one game.
Now, I'm thinking people are probably going to think that I'm going to pick Gra. But I would actually have to go with RuneScape on this one because it's so big.
Yeah.
And just checking, I have played 355 days and 21 hours. So I'm pretty close to that 365. And keep in mind, this is over the last 10 years. So,
That's pretty ridiculous.
but it's still an absolutely absurd amount of time. But yeah, I'd have to go with RuneScape. I can't
All right.
think of something on Xbox that I would want to play for that long.
I have two, and I'm not sold on either one of them that I want to play for that long. So
Actually, I could
You got
if
one?
I had to pick Xbox, Rock Band 3.
there you go.
Yeah.
Hey, there's a huge catalog. I mean,
No,
you can
yeah, it's
stay
kind of one of
entertained.
those things that you could keep going. The skill cap is so high that
Yeah.
you could keep going for a very, very long time.
Yeah, and you could bring others in. Like, you could play with friends.
Yeah,
like,
totally.
You know.
Which is a blast when people still played it.
So my two, the first one is Destiny. Okay, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I've already put in over 300 hours into that game, and that's the most by far I've ever put into a game. I think second place on my time played list is Minecraft at 80 hours. So that game has plenty of flaws, and it's waning in interest. Who knows what's going on over at Bungie right now? But the shooting mechanics are so good, and there's enough variety. I mean, you can play the multiplayer, you can play with friends, you can play PvE. The loot's there, right? There's enough to keep you interested, but they really are trying to make it so you just keep playing the same thing over and over. And so I'm a little nervous about how tired that's going to get. And then at some point, the servers will go down, and then that'll be it. The other one, and I haven't played this game, which I think helps, is GTA 5. That I feel like Rockstar has put enough into that world where you also could have like limitless possibilities using their editors, using things along that line where you could set up really crazy and weird things. And, you'd have that game to also play with, their narrative and whatnot.
Yeah,
So-
and I think it seems like they've been supporting GTA Online quite a lot,
Yes.
which is a good thing to see. And I mean, really, I've spent hours, like this is long before achievements, but my favorite game to just kind of the open world to play around in on the PlayStation 2 was Driver 3. I would
Sure.
just spend hours. I'd just steal cars, drive around, shoot people. Yeah, I probably would have done the same in, San Andreas or something. I didn't
Right.
have it. I didn't really know it was a thing back then. None of my friends really played it, but I had discovered Driver 3 because I was a big fan of Driver 1 and 2 on the PS1. So that was kind of my go-to open world sandbox to mess around in. And yeah, I mean, you can spend a lot of time just kind of driving around and
Well, I mean,
making
and
a
I
mess
see-
of the city.
Right, I see so many videos of people just doing really cool stuff. Like, there really is, not a lack of content. But I haven't played it, so I don't know. It might not be my style. I think that's where I'm so that's why I'm on the fence between the two of those.
Yeah, I've got all three versions sitting on my shelf waiting to play because I got to play the 360 version first so I can import it into the Japanese and the One version, and then of course you got Gra,
Right?
so
Chain 'em. Fantastic. Oh, I got one in there too. Ah, man, my filler words. You're killing me. Why don't you grab this next tweet?
all right. So we got a tweet from McLevin Legend. finally finished listening to the Mammoth episode 11. Great spoiler cast to a great game, and glad to hear Angel SK back on the podcast. Thanks for tweeting us, McLevin. It was quite a monster episode. I think that was probably our longest one yet.
Longest episode, and it is our most downloaded episode so
really?
far.
I didn't realize
Sorry,
that.
Sorry, Macca. You're number 2 right now.
Been dethroned.
Yep. So, I mean, and we keep getting a lot of great momentum. So it's getting, the newer episodes
actually.
keep rolling.
We've
totally
broken
appreciate
records
that.
last 3 weeks, I think.
Yeah, we did.
I think so.
We did it again this week.
Yeah. It's pretty good.
So thank you again so much, all of our fans and our listeners. I guess that means you like what we're doing. I don't know.
I hope so.
At least you forgot and you just keep downloading. I'm okay with that too.
So next we have a tweet from Kaiba Chaos. He's got a question for us. What is your favorite suggestion in the TA site wishlist forum? Great podcast up to episode 6 so far. Thanks for tweeting us in. I don't know. I don't really know. Well, I guess the regional compatibility, just because that's kind of a cool thing to have and something I've kind of worked on.
About it.
What about you, Frame?
So I've backed a few things. I was a huge proponent initially of the My Games collection.
Oh,
which
yeah,
I'm
definitely.
So happy is here. And that was a remarkably popular wishlist option, and I thought it was like dead to rights. I'm surprised. I'm not surprised it came in because it's a great feature and it really works super well.
And it's very thorough, which I like too. It's got a lot of filter options and it's easy to look at and easy to search, which makes it really nice.
The other ones, so one of mine I'd really love is multiple to-do lists. We've got one right now, and it's being used by the Achievement Hounds Great Random To-Do List Challenge, run by Facial LaFleur, so if you're interested in the one coming up this year, I think this year's ends in April, and then there'll be like a little brief period of downtime, and then you can sign up for the next one, probably starts in like May 1st or something. I don't know. He hasn't obviously done it because this year isn't over yet. But what happens is you get 100 random achievements, put just like your to-do list, put on there, and that is like your goal for the year to try to get all 100 done. And he's fronted some great prizes on those contests, and it's super fun. Now, it's a bummer because you get really excited at the front end, and then I see my list, and it's like, oh my god, I got to buy $82 worth of DLC just to complete my list. Like, that's frustrating, but it's something to strive for. I would love to be able to do multiple to-do lists, not just the 100, because that's got to stay locked in, right? So you can track your progress through the year. I'd love multiple to-do lists, so I've upvoted that one. Another one I've upvoted was one that I actually just mentioned this like a week ago, is I would love to have like leaderboard filtering by your gamer score changes or achievement changes over time. So what I'm thinking of is because I look at my friends' feed on the side there, and I would love to do some like overtake gamer goals, but I don't have an easy way to look and be like, okay, can I realistically catch them? Their rate of gain, is it too great for me to overcome, or is it something that maybe we're evenly matched and I just have to outgain them a little bit every week? Because I don't have a lot of gaming time, and so it's like, oh yeah, this person's only 10,000 TA above me. That might be a good target. Yeah, except he's scoring 10,000 TA a week, and I'm scoring 4,000 a week. It's like that's only close because he just recently blew past me and, I'm eating his dust. So I was hoping to find, a way to have it so you can see maybe people who are in my type of earning range. And so if they happen to be ahead of me and we both earn, 2,000 gamer score a month or 4,000 gamer score a month or whatever, then, and I need to outgain him over the next 3 months maybe, and overtake the 50,000 that I'm back. I don't know. Just
So
those kind
you're
of
thinking something
suggestions.
kind of along the lines of like the Friends Gamerscore leaderboard on the one.
Yeah, right. Like the
So
the
you
monthly.
can set it to a month, a year, a week,
Right.
whatever.
And absolutely. So then you kind of using that type of functionality, you could set goals against it and be like, yeah, hey, so for the next, 6 months, I want to try to beat this guy. What's his rate over the last 6 months? Oh yeah, it's about the same as mine. So if I just turn it up a little bit, maybe I can overtake him. So that was
I think
that
that'd be
was
a
a
cool
suggestion.
idea.
And then there was one other one. Oh, this was just kind of silly. And this I backed this one back when I was playing tons of Call of Duty. But they were True Achievement titles. I think Devious was the one who.
Oh
who
yeah,
was
I've seen that
the
one
proponent
before.
of this. Yeah, and I really liked the titles in Modern Warfare 2, where you just got you did goofy things to unlock these titles, right? You used a P90 forever, or you stuck a grenade to somebody and they blew somebody else up, or just all the titles that pop up.
They're kind of like little mini achievements.
Right, like multiplayer achievements in Call of Duty.
See,
And then that's why I
Lost
liked
Planet
them.
2 has that too. There's
really?
one achievement for getting all of them, which is
nice.
why it's a like 200, 300-hour game.
Makes sense. So his suggestion was kind of do something like that, like you get you get a title for like Lego Enthusiast because you've completed 4 Lego games or something, or Lego Master, you've completed the Lego series.
Achievement Hounds does a little thing like that, don't they?
They have some medals like
something?
that. Yep, and there's another website out there, Gamertag Nation. They have badges like that as well, where you've completed 50 DLC achievements, or whatever. The Connect function games, you got this little badge, site medal type thing. And so I think the pushback was like, well, we don't really want to just copy all these other sites, but on the flip side of that, it's like, well, if a site has something people like and it's cool, I mean, we already got badges on this site. You know what? The problem is you don't want to just like overload your signature line, because I think that's one of my dislikes of the Achievement House forums is like you can put in your signature line all your badges and whatnot, and it's like you've got almost a full screen between posts because people have so much below.
Yeah,
it's like,
I think that's
it
an
breaks
issue
up the
with
the
a
forum.
lot of forums that don't limit your signature. Is
Right.
You just start to get these like people have like their biography after every post, and it's just full of GIFs and walls of text and things. It's like there's got to be a point where you limit it. So maybe if there were titles, you could pick, 1 or 2 of them.
Yeah.
And then that was it. Kind of like they do with badges on the forums.
like on TA, right?
Yeah.
You get your 3 or
Or
whatever.
maybe you get your 3 badges in your 1 title.
Yeah. So anyway, those are just a couple things I suggested, or I liked from the wish list. So thanks for that. Thanks for that question. We also got a question here from Joe Angel SK. She says, "Why are there not enough hours in the day to earn both the money to buy video games and to also play them?" Hashtag first world problems. Totally agree. And you know what's even worse is this weekend that we're recording, they actually take an hour away from us because of daylight savings. Like, come on.
Daylight savings is stupid. Somebody needs to do away with that.
It's funny because I was actually listening to something on the news today. They were saying this was done back in World War I. They implemented daylight savings because they wanted to conserve energy to put toward the war effort, right? So they could make, new bullets and things like that. So they didn't want people using electricity, the light bulbs, because it took so much power to fire up all these light bulbs. So they wanted it later, and that's why they switched it. Well, then they kept doing it, and now you look at it, and they had talked about moving it around just to try to save some energy. Well, light bulbs are so efficient now, especially if you have CFLs. They don't use hardly any electricity, but what happens now is people are at home, and they want the AC going. They're starting cooking earlier. They are watching more TV now because it's daylight later. You can stay up a little later. You feel energized. So like people are actually probably using more energy because of the hour shift. And then they threw in there like hey, by the way, it's also there's a huge spike in heart attacks and stress-related like issues because people lose their sleep.
Yeah,
That's right.
I think there's also, well, this is kind of related in that like some places decide they don't like it. Is I believe there was
Indiana, I think, is like that.
Town in the old country, just one town. It's not even a whole province. That they just don't do it.
They just hang out.
They're just like, yeah, we're going to keep it. And you can go to the next town
Arizona,
over and it's different.
I think Arizona keeps it. Which are like, I don't want more daylight. It's too darn hot.
I guess that makes sense.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Like, what's the point?
I'm a fan of doing away with it because I think it's stupid.
Yeah, I've heard here that because we're so far north, they want to be a little brighter for when the kids in the winter when the kids are at the bus stops and stuff. That because it's so. I mean, what?
See, I think that the town I was talking about is actually pretty far north too.
Yeah,
it's like northern BC where it's winter 9 months of the year, and
yeah, that's the thing. It's like for me, gaining an extra hour of sunlight in the afternoon is super noticeable because today, the sun, it's getting there. I mean, I'm finally walking the dog in daylight, but in the depths of winter, we're getting like 6 hours of sunlight.
No, I know what that's like.
Yeah, it's miserable.
I mean, I'm fortunate now down here in California. It's not so much like that, but back in the old country.
But back to the question at hand. So, Joe, here's my suggestion to you. Forgo sleep. If you start skipping sleep, you can just use those hours toward video games. And you can fall asleep at work. So then that's where you shift your sleep hours to taking a nap at work. Then, that's how you make up for it.
Is that what you've done?
I would be remiss to say I have not fallen asleep at my desk before, but I try not to make a habit of it. There was one time, so I was in college actually, and it was like the perfect storm of this lecture. And okay, so I'm an engineer, right? So I did some smart kid classes, and this particular class was called macromolecular hydrodynamics. And what it was is it measured like flow rates of polymers through pipes and stuff. Really super interesting stuff, right? I know. Well, because this was a high level, like a graduate level class, they taped it and simulcast it to like there was like dudes on nuclear submarines and stuff in the military taking this course. And so they had to dim the lights so that they could get, the guy up on stage. And it was like at 2:00, which was like that perfect time right after you've eaten.
Nap time.
Right.
Yeah.
So now it's dark and it's in a huge, not well lit auditorium. And I remember I was sitting there and I was taking notes because it's an open book. It was an open book test. And so I was like, you got to just write everything down. And I came back on the test and I looked at some of my notes, and this literally was the sentence. The flow rate can be classified through, and then there's a little bit of a scribble, and then I wrote the word buffalo. And then my pen went from line 6 on the page and streaked down to the bottom of the page when I fell over. I mean, it's just unbelievable. I have no idea where the word buffalo came from either, but it was like perfectly spelled out, completely in a dream state. Just miserable.
No, I've been there many a day in high school. I am not a morning person, and I would have to catch the bus like super early. And just like the first class, like that was just like my whole page. You get like 2 words, and then it's just, then you get after lunch, and it's okay. But it's pretty bad. I was having a pretty rough day today. I've got Friday afternoon class, starts at 4, and I had a really productive whole day up to that point. I was just doing stuff all day, and then finally I slowed down in class, and it's like 4:00 on Friday afternoon.
Just comes grinding to a halt.
Yeah, and I'm fighting it the whole class. I have never fallen asleep completely, but it was one of those kind of drifty, head drifting kind of days. Not quite buffalo, but
yeah, it's good stuff. Well. So that's just an option, Joe. I think you do like your sleep, though. So maybe that's not for you. But that's what I've done. I'm rocking 4 hours a night. I just looked at my Fitbit, and apparently I'm getting 4 hours and 35 minutes a night. Not enough. That's for darn sure. So we got a TA friend feed from Is That Hydro. Sounds like he is going to have a fantastic weekend. His comment, beer plus weed plus munchies equals video games. Not sure I condone the illicit drug use, but hey.
Hey, it depends on what state you're in, okay?
That's true.
If you're in Oregon,
totally legal.
It's all good.
Totally legal. I think I'm going to assume that's where he's from.
Yeah.
Miss Dudette chimes in and says, not in that order, right? Is That Hydro corrects the ordering and says, weed munchies and maybe a beer or two while gaming. Cheers. So, yeah, he's rocking out, having a great weekend. I'm not. I have one more week left of my diet and workout regime before like the finale, and then next Saturday is the end of this program party. And now that I've lost a ton of weight, like I'm gonna be just belligerent after like 2 drinks. I'm going to be such a lightweight, having not drank for now 10 weeks and being 25 pounds lighter. Like, I'm just going to be gone. So, if you follow me on Twitter...
Well,
perhaps,
we better say gras a few more times, okay?
Right? When I listen back to this show and I'm contributing...
You may die. It may come to that.
Might be
You don't want to get too healthy.
Right. We also had I also had a friend feed comment from Jellied Bigfoot, and this is a great question, and this is how we'll end our listener feedback section. He says, how do you think game devs decide on X number of collectibles? Like why all the orbs in Crackdown? Why 100 packages in GTA? He's like, there's some that make sense, specifically the 47 kills with Agent 47 in Hitman. I mean, that makes sense. He's like, but some games are they're not clear why that particular number was picked. And he's just curious what we think about it. And he also added the Assassin's Creed flags. He's like, why are there 33 in each area?
It's because they hate you.
Yeah, and that
I think in every situation, it's like 500 orbs in Crackdown. Yeah, we hate you. We're just letting you know that. You shouldn't have bought this game.
It was like Harry Potter or something with like 600 some. I mean, there's just, Banjo-Kazooie is a collectible fest, isn't it?
Yeah, kind of. They're kind of like progression items at the same time.
Okay.
And they're also really easy to find. I don't think I ever used a guide for Banjo-Kazooie. I've done it twice. Yeah, once on Xbox, once on the N64. And that one's not too bad. And I don't think... And once you pick them up once, they don't come back.
That's good.
One of the ones that was really bad, though, that I remember was... holds a special place in... games I hate is Earthworm Jim 3. I'm a big fan of Earthworm Jim, not of Earthworm Jim 3. I kind of like to forget that one exists, but it's impossible. So that one, to get the final ending, you had to collect every marble in every stage. Every stage, I think, had 100 marbles, and there were like, I want to say like 8 or 10 stages, and you had to collect all of them.
Oh my gosh.
But when you picked them up, you had to do it in one run. So it was just the high score. So if you missed one, left, and came back, you'd have to pick up all 100 of them again.
Ugh, gross.
For every level. Plus it was just a really, really bad game. Just really a mess. Just a disgrace to the Earthworm Jim name.
I hate the ones where, like, when you get them, they reappear and they don't count toward. You have to like get the individual ones, and like at least most games, if they do reappear, they're like faint or a different color or something. But there are some out there. I know I've played them. I can't think of one off the top of my head, but they're like, nope, they're just. I'm going to repopulate it, but they don't count toward the achievement. And I wish I could think of which ones those were on the top of my head. I think the most common number you're going to see is like 100, and that's for like percentage purposes. I mean, 100 just is a nice good number.
Still too many, but
it is a ton. No, I totally agree.
Yeah.
But it's a sensical number. I'd like to think that
50
developers
is a pretty common one too. I can think of
Yeah.
a couple 50s off the top of my head.
I'd like to think that developers, if they're putting collectibles in the game, that they say, okay, we're going to have collectibles, and this is what it's going to be, right? They determine what it is, and I like the ones that pick, like, you know what we're going to do? Well, like BioShock, right? The audio logs.
I love the audio logs.
Fantastic
That's collectibles done
collectibles.
right.
Absolutely.
Another one, Syndicate had business cards and something else, but it was the same idea as the audio logs where it built on the story, and it was really cool. I love that. I love collectible stories because it makes me want to find them, and I get really excited when I find them because they're kind of cool, and then you piece it all together, and it's fun.
So you have to hope that the developers say, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to take this story, and we're going to break it up, and now there's 73. Okay, so we got to find 73 places to put, and that's why the number's weird, is because they put the story in place, so they put whatever in place. What was that? Mafia, right, with the Playboys? They're just like, hey, these are really
Mafia yet.
Yeah, I actually haven't either. But here's a great collection of things, and we've got all these. So this is what the collectibles are. Or the in L.A. Noire, the movie film, the film canisters, right? Those were actual films of that time period, and they say, well, we've got X many, so now we got to find homes for them. I hope that's the approach, and they're not just like, well, give me a 2 10-sided dice, and I'm just going to roll them, and we're going to see how many I've got to fit into this world.
It's like, 2 10s.
Yeah,
perfect. Right. 1,010.
00. Nope, that's not happening. That's going to be 100,000. Collect them all. We mean like with Pokemon brutal. Too, right? Where does 151 come from? I mean, is it just 150?
I think it was 150 plus Mew was a bonus.
Yeah,
because I don't think Mew. I think Mew was like a promotional thing and wasn't supposed to be in the game, but people like hacked it or whatever, and then.
But you got to think too, like that's not because you got the evolving Pokemon, so it's not like so if you go with like base Pokemon, and then yes, technically those are new iterations, but then why do you have some that don't evolve? Like that's weird to me. Where it's like, we're gonna have.
It always seemed a little inconsistent on that.
Yeah,
I don't know. Maybe there's a reason for it. It's been a while since I've kind of dabbled in Pokemon.
I know my son.
One I played was on the I think it was the first one that came out on the DS, the original DS.
Is it the 20th anniversary now? Is that what everybody's celebrating?
Uh-huh.
Oh my God, that's crazy.
It's pretty cool. Because I had Pokemon Yellow version and Red version. Back on the game. I didn't get them right when they were new, but I got them later. When I got a Game Boy Advance when it was pretty new, but then I went back and I got the old Pokemon games.
Yeah. See, here's what for me. I was too old when Pokemon came out. I was like, what, 15, 16?
No,
I was like,
you can't be too old.
Guess I'm driving cars. I'm not playing Pokemon on my Game Boy or whatever. I mean, but now, it's funny because now I'm actually more interested now than I was back when I was much younger. It has a surprising
amount of depth, which I was always kind of impressed by.
Yeah.
Especially looking at it later.
My son is now into it. He's got some buddies at school who are interested in the cards and whatnot. And so I was asking him, like, hey, what do you think about Yokai Watch? And he looked at me like, shut up, Dad. I'm not into Yokai Watch. I mean, well, Japan's way into it. You don't even know, buddy. Anyway, it is what it is. He's really itching to get into Pokemon, and it's like, well, I guess I've got my own habits to deal with. You can have yours.
There's worse things he could be getting into, I suppose.
Super worse things. Yeah, like methamphetamine use.
Exactly.
All right, well, it was a great listener section. Thanks again, everybody, for all your comments and discussions. It's fun to come back to my friend feed after posting and just having a huge list of items, and it's fun. You guys are just a great community. The tweets and retweets on Twitter at Z2Z, ZEDTOZED, love them. The conversation we're going to try, because our listener section is getting larger, like I mentioned, we're going to try and get things done during the week and be a little more active on social media, so we can continue all this great conversation. You don't have to just wait till the podcast comes out, because as awesome as it is, and have all these discussions and questions, which we love and encourage, there's plenty of times during the week where people are looking for something to talk about, or like when the new show comes out and people are interested about what they just listened to. It's a great opportunity to start some dialogue, and if that's through the Facebook group, if that's through a Twitter conversation, if that's through friend feed items, TA forums, wherever you can find a place to have your voice is encouraged. So let's move into our feature content. I'm calling it Just Palling Around, because I mentioned on last show, after the Ultimate Head-to-Head Challenge, Handy Darkness and Mighty Mango have suggested that I help. They're going to help me out and get me to have my hands on a PAL console. So I'm looking forward to it, and I need some help. I need to understand what I'm getting into. So this segment is going to be very PAL specific, and it's very Crandy heavy, because I'm the noob and I don't know anything about it.
And I have grabbed a PAL console before my Sweet 16, so.
Okay, so what exactly is this PAL console? Tell me what I'm getting into.
Well, a PAL console is a console from the PAL region, and I believe the region codes date back to something to do with TV signals. I don't quite understand it, but that's kind of the gist of it. So what the regions that PAL covers is Europe, and I think there are a couple Asian countries, but it's mostly
right?
Europe, Australia, and New Zealand. The big ones are Europe, Australia, New Zealand. So this will obviously be a bit North America centric, because if you're in a PAL region, you don't need a PAL console. You already have one.
Yeah, that's your console.
Yeah, and I don't really think Xbox is that big in Asia. I mean, if you're in Asia and listening to the podcast, this should work for you too. But we will cover North America as a regional exclusive area in another episode. I hope to cover all of the areas, and then maybe a little more focus on the major Asian countries, because they're a little more specific. But so we'll start off with, where do you get a PAL console? So if you have a friend in Europe, you can get them to send you a console, but the problem is not the cost of the consoles. The consoles are very cheap. They often work out to be less money than buying them in North America. Like if you went to GameStop, the console at GameStop is going to cost you more money than the console in Europe. So you can have a friend send it to you, but I don't recommend it because shipping is so expensive. But what you can do if you want a new console is you can go to Amazon UK. And Amazon UK will ship you as many consoles as you want for £5. It's just a flat shipping rate, £5.
That is crazy. Which
is really, really, really cheap, because you're probably looking at like 50 if you had someone ship it to you. That's a ballpark. I haven't done that, but it's going to be somewhere in the like $70 range. But today I also learned, I don't know if this is new or I just didn't know this before, but Game, the major UK retailer, will also ship consoles internationally for £5. And I believe they will ship them to most countries around the world. And that's pretty huge, because they also sell and ship used consoles, which means if you don't really care about getting a new console, you can get a used console for very little money. It's actually, I checked, for me to get a used slim console from Game, it would cost about $95 taxes in. So wow. That's a pretty good deal. And the same thing with both Game and Amazon is you can actually bundle games in with that shipment. So if say there's 5 games you want from the UK, you can get the console, you can get the games, and only pay £5 shipping, which is, I think, is a really, really good price. Now with Amazon though, they have to be new games sold by Amazon. So I mean, I think it could be a used game, but typically Amazon doesn't sell those. So all the items have to be sold by Amazon. But that, at least to my knowledge, is the cheapest way to get a single console. Now, it may be cheaper if you know someone in Europe to have them send you multiple consoles in the mail if they can find them real cheap locally. I have a friend that did that, and it was cheaper than buying them on Amazon, but at the time I didn't know about games, so I suspect that buying them direct from game is still the cheapest way to go.
Makes sense.
Now, the other thing you need to know with the consoles is the power supply is not going to, or the power box is not going to work outside of Europe. So the part that goes from the wall to the box, those can be used on any of them. So you can borrow it from your North American console, I think it's the voltage that goes from the box to the console is the same, no matter what. The box output is standard, but the input from the wall to the box varies. So if you take a box from North America to Europe, swap out the ends, it'll blow the box up. If you do a box from Europe to the US, nothing happens. So you need to order a box. I got mine from Microsoft directly. I believe it was $30. So you're going to have to add that expense on. Unless you're getting the same console. So if you have a Slim that has the same input as the Slim you're getting from Europe, you can just swap out the supplies. In my case, I bought an E model Slim. I didn't have one of those, so I had to buy a new box. But that's a bonus. If you have a box from one of your current consoles that will fit, you can use that one, and you don't have to replace it. I guess the next biggest part would be getting games. So you can always get new release games from Amazon or Game because they'll ship internationally. But doing single orders gets expensive pretty quick. So if there's a number of games you want, I recommend kind of waiting to get them all at once to save on shipping. And both, as I said before, both Game and Amazon do have a £5 flat rate shipping fee. And the other thing is a lot of the stacks for the EU console come from Germany, which is substantially more difficult to get games from, since I don't think Amazon DE will ship internationally, and if they do, it's very, very expensive. Like, we're talking like €50 for one game expensive. And they don't sell a lot of items, so even if they did ship internationally, they really don't have the stuff that you're probably going to be looking for. So the best way, which I say the best way, but it's not really ideal for most people, is you have to know someone in Europe, because they will ship to most countries in the EU, but they won't ship outside of it. So what I do is I order everything I want off Amazon, and then I have it shipped to my friend in the UK, and then he forwards it all to me. So pay double on shipping, but it's cheaper than €50 a game.
Yeah, right.
I mean, €50 a game is an exaggeration, but it's generally really pricey.
What about like the currency conversion stuff? I've never bought anything over in the UK. You know, do they just automatically figure that in? Like, can I throw my credit card up there, and then they're like, oh yeah, you know, your Visa or whatever, you're doing it in pounds. Okay, well, there's a conversion fee. There's this. So they'll just add that on there, or
yeah. So it depends. If you buy from Amazon, I guess because Amazon does business in so many countries, they don't really care what currency you're paying in. So they will recognize what country of origin your card is from, and they will offer to charge you in your local currency, and you would just pay what you would pay like a bank rate. So it's not going to be like the quoted market exchange rate, but it's going to be like a very, very small percentage higher. And chances are that's much less than your card is going to charge you on a foreign exchange fee. So depending on your credit card, some credit cards have no fees. So you can buy in any currency that they support and just pay the bank rate. But I know I had a Wells Fargo debit card, and I made the mistake of charging a foreign currency to it once. They not only charged me a much higher rate than the bank rate even, they also charged me a $3 service fee. So it depends. I know my credit card from Canada had, I think they charged me 2%. So they charged me 2% on top of the bank rate, which was pretty cheap. That it's not like $3 plus 5% plus bank rate kind of thing. So definitely watch out for that, because that can sneak up on you. But it's something that you want to watch out for sure. But if you're going with Amazon, it's not an issue. I don't know about Game, but I suspect they probably charge you in pounds. A lot of the retailers now also accept PayPal too, so that's another option. Is just throw your credit card on PayPal or pay with your bank balance, and they do charge a small fee too, but it's like, again, less than 1% type of fee. And then the other alternative for getting games out of Germany, and I suppose this goes for the UK too, is eBay. So you can check for sellers on eBay that will ship internationally. The only problem with that is usually it's just individuals selling their stuff, so you can't really combine shipping. But if that's the only way, then it's better than paying for Amazon, I suppose, or paying a really high fee to an importer that specifically imports games to resell for more money on your local eBay. But usually the prices are pretty good. It's just shipping that gets expensive with the German games. And then Australia, I don't know. There is one retailer in Australia that will ship some games internationally. And I forget what that's called, but I will put it in the show notes. We'll put that one in the show notes. But it's a little tougher. There aren't too many Australian stacks, though. I think there's Saints Row 4, Soldier of Fortune, and Saints Row 4 on the One. And I think that's it. So there's not too many from there. And again, eBay will ship. Like eBay Australia will often ship internationally too.
Sure.
So eBay is always a good resource. It's just not as cheap when you're buying in bulk a lot of the time. So now you're wondering, well, why would I spend money on a PAL console? What kind of games are on there other than Orcs and Men, of course? Now that we've talked about getting one and getting the games. So there are a few easy completions, and of course, because I play Graw all the time, there's not really... I haven't really played them, but this is what I've been told. So there's a German stack of Wanted Weapons of Fate. There's EU stacks of both of the Sherlocks, or not, I shouldn't say both, the first two Sherlocks that are on the 360. There's the X Factor game, which is a real winner, I've been told.
Simon Cowell, man. He's huge out there.
I don't know if he's in the X Factor game. I think it was a low-budget Deep Silver title or something. It was just... Ugh. I still need to play that one. I have it. I just haven't played it. There's the German stack of BioShock for BioShock fans. There's A-Train HX, which was released in PAL regions as well as Japan. So if you're going to get that one, unless you speak Japanese, go with the PAL region one because it's in English. Japanese version, I've been told, is not in English. And of course, the famous My Horse and Me 2, which is region free, but it is still a PAL game. So if you can track one of those down, those are pretty easy and very expensive. And then, of course, there's some notable stacks. There's BioShock, and then Saints Row 1 through 4, which was that was pretty much the whole reason I got a PAL box. Actually, I'm a big old Saints Row fan, not so much the new Saints Row, but
Sure.
1 and 2 were a couple of my favorites. Dead Space 2, Quake 4, if you're into leaderboards like me, that's a real fun one. Sleeping Dogs and Rainbow Six Vegas 2. So yeah, and then there are a few cool games that I like to talk about. Rare games, fun games, just kind of notable games from the EU region. Of course, there's Of Orcs and Men, as we've talked about on the show. I don't own that one, nor have I played it, but
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, if you've played Styx, which is the game of the games with gold, you're half of that. You got the little goblin, but his companion in Of Orcs and Men is this big bruising orc dude. And so, according to Handy Darkness, he says you go into a level, or maybe it was Redemption. Anyway, you go into a level as Styx and try to kill as many dudes as you can, and then when you get found out, then and Styx has to like run away. Then the big orc dude just comes in and trashes house, and hopefully you took out a bunch of dudes, so he doesn't get overwhelmed.
But, that sounds pretty fun. I might have to
sounds
track
awesome.
That one down. So in the rare category, of course, is My Horse and Me Too, which is, I don't know if it's the kind of limited availability that makes it so expensive, or the mass achievement hunter demand because it's so easy. But
that's got to be it.
I think it's probably both. But that one goes for like $100 US usually when one does pop up, and it's region free. It's a bonus. But yeah, I guess you like take care of a horse or something for achievements.
Yeah, yep. You got to brush it.
Yeah, and then there's the Eastern European version of Mafia 2. So this one's kind of interesting because for a long time it was thought to be the Russian version of Mafia 2. So, which it is. You can get it in Russia, but it is actually in a lot of Eastern Europe. So I believe it's released in Poland. I can't think of the other countries, but when we were looking
Czech Republic,
yeah,
Slovenia,
probably it's most of the Eastern European countries.
Turkey.
I don't know about Turkey. I don't think we checked Turkey, but when we were looking at the regions, we discovered that it had a lot more than we expected it would. So it was changed to Mafia 2 Eastern European, and it is very hard to find. I've seen a few of them pop up. There was one on eBay for a really long time that was something outrageous, like $150 US, which is just way too much. I think I got mine for 60. Might have been 80. It was 60 or 80, which I think that's kind of a good zone. And that was the Platinum Hits version, which includes all of the DLC on disc. So that we don't condone making alternate region accounts because it's kind of a gray area. But if you were to do that, I imagine it would be a huge pain to get that DLC. But if you get it on disc, nice and easy, DRM free, just pop it in, install it, and you're good to go.
Right.
So that includes all the DLC with achievements, but there is also the standard release too. So I recommend, if you're looking for that one, try and get the Platinum Hits version, or know somebody that has it that will lend you the disc. But yeah, that one's tough to find because the same goes for BioShock 2 PC Russian version. It's not so much that it's hard to find in Russia, it's just hard to find somebody in Russia that will ship it outside of Russia.
Well, they're too busy playing World of Tanks.
Well, of course. Is that a popular game?
Oh my
in
god!
Russia?
Apparently, Russia loves World of Tanks. That's the story I've heard.
Well,
I have nothing to substantiate that.
I have heard good things about World of Tanks, so maybe. I mean, I think everyone loves World of Tanks. or hates it. I think it's hard to get into.
Yeah, I could see that being the case.
And then, so I guess we'll start with the rare games. So there's Mafia 2, there's Soldier of Fortune Australia, which I believe is Soldier of Fortune Payback. And so the first run of that game in Australia was a stack. And then the second run was the international version. And the first run was much smaller, to my understanding, than the second run. And there's effectively no difference in the packaging or the disc. The only difference is, I think, where the manual was made. I think that's how you can tell the difference, which if it's sealed or used, does nothing.
Yeah, you're out of luck.
So in both cases, you have no idea. So really the only way to check for that one is to pop it in your console and see which version it is. So those are hard to find for that reason. So you kind of have to just go in, buy a whole bunch of them, test them all, and then return the ones that are not the correct version. And then the last one, which are a couple of the kind of most recent, very cool acquisitions in my collection, are Bloodbath and Kick-Ass 2. And they are, I believe, unreleased as physical releases. So you might be wondering, how did I get an unreleased game? Well, I think what's happening is Freedom Factory is probably being liquidated. Freedom Factory is the developer of these games. It's based in Spain, and their website has been under construction. I'm doing air quotes while I say this. For, I think, a year and something. Like, it's been a long time. And I've emailed them before, too, and they didn't respond. So I think they're probably not coming back. And I'm guessing some of these games leaked out somehow. I think, because there were a couple that leaked out months before this. Like, I think I saw one copy of Bloodbath, and I'd heard of another, and that was it. So I think they went out to reviewers or something, or people that worked on it. And then one day I was looking around Amazon Spain, and what do I see? I see both of these games for not a lot of money. They'll ship to the EU. So I bought them. I think I was able to get 2 of each. And then I distributed them to a couple other people I knew that were really looking for them. But, yeah, so they were released digitally, but I believe the physical release was unintended because there are very, very few of them around. I've seen a couple on eBay. I know there have been a couple more that made their way out of Spain. But I believe the source of them was a couple sellers in Spain where the studio is based, which kind of makes sense.
Right.
So those are cool. Those aren't really that relevant. They're just kind of cool, and I like to talk about them. But those are EU release games. You can still get them digitally. You need a PAL box for them, I'm pretty sure, since they are games on demand. Usually, that's another note too. With digital games, you can get them. Again, don't condone making other accounts. But if you did, you would probably need a VPN and you would need a PAL console. So I have a friend from the EU that came to visit me, we'll say. And
sounds awesome, by the way.
Yes, he's a very cool guy. And this friend tried to play BioShock German version on my NTSC console. And unfortunately, this friend was not able to do that, because it seems to emulate a disc, and then it says the region code's wrong. So for that, you would still need a PAL console. So even if you want to get digital arcade games, my friend has told me that they don't matter, but games on demand do. And then the last European exclusive that I want to talk about is Battle versus Chess, which is kind of a weird one. It was originally going to be released in North America as well as Europe, but there was a lawsuit from Interplay because they had a game called Battle Chess and forced this company to change the name in North America to Check versus Mate. And it never made it to the Xbox. So you can get Check versus Mate on Steam, but not on Xbox. But you can get Battle versus Chess on Xbox. And if you like chess, it's pretty fun. It's got a lot of challenge modes. The animation's cool. It's a pretty fun game, except I'm really bad at chess. And I had a brutal time finishing that. I played it on PC, but I had a brutal time finishing that one. And also a note, Check vs. Mate does not have achievements, but Battle vs. Chess for PC has achievements. So you're going to have to get that one from the PAL regions as well, but it's not region locked. So if you want that on Games Windows Live, I think you can get them on eBay sometimes. They're not super hard to find. But yeah, that's kind of a fun PAL exclusive, and that should cover our little talk on PAL consoles, unless you have any questions, Freem.
No, I mean, just what are you sending me? We gotta put a list together of, anything in your library you're willing to let me borrow for however long. That's the other thing. I'll have to look at this list and see what's worth my time.
See how long they take, yeah.
Right. I hear Redemption saying that Aragon I should play that at least 3 or 4 times. So.
Oh yeah, I have that one. I've heard it's a real winner. The funny thing with that one, I have the EU version, but not the North American version. So that's kind of a weird one. But
yeah,
it was cheap, so I grabbed it. But if you want to play Aragon, I can send you Aragon.
Right. Yeah, we'll figure it out. Anyway, so yeah, that was our feature content this week.
And to our listeners too, if you guys think I neglected any good PAL exclusive games or any stacks that you really like, send them in, because we'll probably do another PAL talk at some point, or we can talk about it in our feedback, or if you know of a good way to get games out of Germany or Australia, let us know.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you want a little bit more functionality on TrueAchievements.com, go into the wish list and start looking up the region filtering options and stuff, and just get your voice heard on there. I know it's kind of on their radar already. Jack is at least interested through Grandy's help here, but the more people, the higher up the list it goes. So great. Well, let's move into. Did you hear? You see what I did there? I used the word great instead. Aha! I'm trying to sober up. We're going to move into news now.
Sober our listeners up. I mean, we're not drinking while we're recording, obviously.
Right.
But our listeners should be.
So,
we don't condone underage drinking. Drink responsibly.
Busy week this week for Xbox news. Let's start with the not so serious one. There was a leak that was shown in a Killer Instinct video for Season 3 here. General Rom of Gears of War showed up. And I didn't actually get to watch the video. I really should have. But man, I love the concept.
I checked that one out this morning. There was no footage of him in game, to my understanding. It's just a kind of a placeholder with his name. So the model doesn't appear to be in the game, just a slot for him.
Oh, well, that's good enough, right?
Yeah, I mean, obviously he's going to be there. It's just, I think he's probably going to be later in the season, so he's not. I don't think he'll be in I think they're releasing 3 or 4 characters right off the bat, and then they're going to add 4 more throughout the season, because I think they did something similar to that last season, too.
Makes sense. I love this concept, because I really like Smash Brothers, and, that's just cute. There's melee combat, but it just brings all these different characters in, and so I love the idea of, you got Arbiter, General Ron, who else can, will we have Rash from Battletoads, will Banjo ever show up? The big goofy bear.
There was some discussion about Conker, but it'd be interesting with Conker because he's very small.
That's true, yeah. Just so I don't know, like I love that type of concept. And if they could find a way to balance them, I mean, that's just great.
Yeah, and I think from the footage I've seen, they seem pretty good about not really making one character too overpowered. Now, I could go on about Jago, but we're not going to talk about that today. Yeah, like Rash doesn't appear to be overpowered. He was in the game temporarily. I didn't get to play him, but I think he was in for a weekend or something just to kind of test him out. And I was kind of checking out the little bit of Arbiter gameplay where he's got quite a powerful gun, but it runs out of ammo, so it balances itself out like that, and he can't replenish the ammo either. So it does balance. They seem to be balancing out the kind of stronger abilities with kind of downsides to them. And in terms, I almost think they're kind of doing too many guest characters just because, I don't know, Smash Bros. Is a game that isn't, like, it wasn't a reboot of kind of like a pure series. Like Killer Instinct was just Killer Instinct characters. But at the same time, I do realize that they've run out of the old characters and they need to make new ones.
Right.
But I think maybe they should have done it more gradually instead of going from 0 crossovers to like
1 billion,
like 40% of the next season at least being crossovers. So we have 3 of 8 characters confirmed to be, well, not confirmed. I mean, ROM is pretty much confirmed, but not officially. But there will be 8 characters, and if 3 of them already are crossovers, that's kind of a high percentage, I think. But I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah,
I'll see how I feel about it when they're actually in the game.
I mean, if you're a Killer Instinct purist, yeah, that makes sense. But if this has now become Xbox All Stars or whatever, then yeah, bring everybody in.
No, exactly.
I want to see Steve from Minecraft. I want to see Alan Wake. Whatever. Let's just get crazy.
One thing that I think is interesting is nobody's, at least to my knowledge, nobody's ever tried to make a Smash clone. Or was that PlayStation All-Stars
PlayStation
game a Smash
did,
clone?
Yeah. Well, I mean, yes, it was essentially a Smash clone. It did not perform well.
I know it didn't do well, because that one was right off the radar, like, the day it came out. But yeah, I don't know. I've definitely contemplated getting a Wii U just for Smash Bros, because it is, like, that is the one game I really miss from Nintendo. Like,
yeah, for sure.
I miss Zelda. Like, Zelda's really good, but like I can deal with it. But like Smash Bros is just like, man, like that's a fun game. And I played a little bit, not the Wii U version, but I played some Melee like a few months ago. I was like, man, that's a fun game.
Yeah, it's super fun, and I've played it. My nephew has a Wii U, and like my son has his daycare over there. Oh my god, he comes back. He's constantly asking me about, hey, who's your favorite Smash Brothers character? Oh my god, you should have seen this thing I did with Ness today, or whatever. And it's like, I know, I remember. I played tons of Brawl and Melee back when in the day. It's one of the most fun gaming experiences I've had.
Another one that was really fun too, this is just kind of in like the Nintendo party game. Like I don't think this would work as well, like at least for me now that I don't have a lot of friends that I can get together locally and play games with. But did you ever play WarioWare Inc. on the GameCube?
Yeah, I did.
That was a fun one.
I those mini game things just drive me. Oh no, wait, is he that one where like it was his platformer?
No,
that's the mini games, right?
No, it's the mini games where there's like the kind of like meta game mode, and then there's like the mini games within the game mode. So you had like your game interface with some kind of like situation that was like that game mode, and then it would cycle through it would incorporate the mini games into that game mode, and how you succeed. Man, that game was fun. That was a fun game. I love that game.
Right. So yeah, more leaks, characters coming out for this next season of Killer Instinct. Keep your eye. Well, who knows when, but that's kind of a fun character.
Well, yeah, who knows for ROM, but season 3 comes out March 29th. I'm looking forward to it.
There you go. So next bit of news was there was a preview build of the Xbox dashboard that came out, and they removed the functionality of the Xbox Achievements app from being snappable. They put it so that you can have it as a quick view instead of snapping it. And Macca, friend of the show, tweeted to Xbox Quick, Mike Ibarra, and said, "Hey, dude, what's the deal? Like, we love snap and play. Like, we need this for achievement hunting. Why'd you do this?" And he came back and said, guess what? Not the case. We are putting it back in. So I guess our voices had been heard that they're not going to take out the snap piece. And so if you look at Xbox Quick, so Mike Ibarra's personal Twitter feed, it said, "Based on your valuable feedback, the Snap Achievement app will return soon and not be removed. Thank you."
Well,
so there you go. Voice was heard, everyone. So within a week, people up in arms. What's going on? You're trying to take away our ability to track achievements.
Whoever thought of that maybe should be reconsidered. Seems like what's the harm in leaving it there? That's the thing that it comes down to for me. Is like,
yeah,
even if nobody uses it, what's the harm in leaving it there?
What does it save you, right?
No, exactly. Yeah. Like, you can unpin it. It's like, what's one more ugly tile in your million tiles? Like, then we're just gonna you can't snap it anymore. I got to go into your stupid guide thing that takes forever to load. Can you tell I really love the Xbox One interface?
Oh yeah,
just love
fantastic, right? So I think the reason we mention it, I mean, because it's almost a non-issue now, but it was out there. But I think the piece to take away here is, being part of that preview program, or using social media, or because we're so connected now with people at Xbox or game developers or whoever. You got a gripe, you got something, if you can present it in a way that is constructive and not negative, there's a much better chance of getting enough people to follow suit and make policy changes. So
now, if only Pepsi would listen to me.
In what regards?
They got to do a real Crystal Pepsi comeback. I had a taste.
That's what you want.
I had a taste, and now they're taking it away.
Awesome.
So tweet Crystal Pepsi. Bring back Crystal Pepsi.
Is there a Twitter handle for Crystal Pepsi?
Hashtag bring back Crystal Pepsi.
Nice. So not great news. And this is the big deal out of Microsoft. Is it was on Monday, and it just kind of out of nowhere, boom! Microsoft cancels Fable Legends. Game's not fun. No, we're not doing it. They cancel Fable Legends, and they plan to close Lionhead Studios. Now that's not official yet. As of time of recording, there is some. They're a UK-based company, and there is a law in the UK where you have to give a 30-day consultancy period for the employees, and so they can look for other employers, they can do other things, but they can't officially just up and close. There's this grace period, so that might be the window we're in right now. Sony actually jumped in and said, "Hey, we're gonna have a job fair for all you Lion's Head people." And so, we've got, if you're looking for work, here's a great opportunity. We'll bring in some people. The other big name, and this is actually probably more important to me, was Press Play. They got shut down, and they're gone. They're out of Denmark. That thing is long gone. They're the
actually
group.
They're not closed yet. I emailed one of them a
couple
days ago. Yeah, so they're not gone yet, but they're going.
Packing their boxes. They are the people who made Kalimba and Max of the Curse of the Brotherhood, and they just recently had that fan vote for the game they were going to be working on. And so I was actually, Project Knoxville was the one that won, and I was actually kind of excited about Project Knoxville.
The Press Play was really surprising to me because it wasn't I feel like Lionhead was really
were circling the drain.
They're just scraping at nothing. Ever since Fable 2, Fable 2 was pretty fun. It wasn't amazing, but it was pretty fun. And like Fable 3 was just ugh. It was like a worse Fable 2.
Yeah.
Like in every regard, it was worse than Fable 2. Like the story was less coherent. The graphics I think were worse. I played it on PC and it looked worse than Fable 2 on Xbox, so on high settings. So I assume it was worse on Xbox too. Like just it wasn't that fun. Just was really not a good game. Then there was Fable Legends, not Fable Legends.
Fable Journey.
The Journey, that's the one for
Yep.
Connect. That was
Connect. And
looked okay, but I mean, really, like, why is that Fable? That
I
shouldn't
have
be
it
Fable.
and haven't played it. Well, then they came out with Fable Anniversary.
Oh yeah, and that was a mess.
Yeah.
And then Fable Legends, I thought was right as soon as I saw that, I thought it was going to be a total mess.
Yeah, I mean, technically the beta is still open, so they're going to keep it open till April 15th.
Hey, maybe Shovelware Cemetery.
Right?
I don't think I probably can't get into it. But
yeah, my guess is that door has closed. But
yeah, press play. Like I haven't played Max, but it's on my list of games. Like it looks pretty cool. It looks pretty good. I haven't heard anything bad about it. Kalimba, I heard nothing but good things.
Yeah,
and then they just kind of took off on Project Knoxville, and then Max, no, we can just
we're done.
By the way, you're all gonna be fired.
And that's the thing. We don't really know what's going on, but. So this might be unrelated. It might not be, but Dave Scammell, his Twitter handle is at VG_Dave. He took a screenshot of MicrosoftStudios.com, and they have tiles there of all the game studios, and it had 8 studios removed from that page. Now, these weren't like big announced ones like Press Play and Lion's Head, so they might not be related, but of course, Lion's Head and Press Play were gone. The other 6, Team Dakota, the makers of Project Spark, and then the 5 other ones, you have Big Park, Good Science, Function, SOTA, and Leap Experience Pioneers. And now those 5 that I just mentioned, those were all developers working on Kinect and HoloLens projects, mostly Kinect games. But, who's to say that doesn't transition to Kinect or HoloLens? So that might just be a restructuring of, guess what? All 5 of those studios, you're obviously not doing Kinect anymore. So we're gonna consolidate, turn them into a HoloLens development circle, right, or rebrand or something. That might be why they're doing this, and they're just restructuring everything, and they just didn't find a place for Lion's Head or Press Play because those are more traditional game studios. I don't know.
Just a note on that. I was reading an article about that, and Microsoft, I believe it was Microsoft, released a statement on that and said that they were not closed, that they were kind of incorporated into other projects and other studios, which is why they were taken down. So it was like a restructuring, but they were just kind of moved and renamed.
Yeah.
So they are still there. They're just not there. Like it's
you lose the brand of Team Dakota.
They're not Team Dakota. They're not Good Science or whatever. They're just whatever team that they're on now, but they're still there. So. And there was a bit of concern.
But was that part of this whole, like, they're just looking at, okay, what is our plan, our structure moving forward? Well, we want to take all these small little things and we'll turn them into one unit. And then
they mentioned too that this wasn't abrupt. This had been happening over the last while, and then they just kind of did away with the tiles or whatever.
Oh, sure.
So I think that was kind of the thing, is over time they kind of realized that they weren't needed in Kinect anymore and then put them on something else. So hopefully everyone still has their job and such. I would imagine with a place as big as Microsoft, I would imagine. Can probably find a place for you.
I don't know, you got to contribute. I'll tell you what.
Yeah, well. When Microsoft
so that's kind of a bummer.
Cans Kinect right out the door. I mean, it's kind of hard to contribute.
That is pretty tricky. Thankfully, Rare got out of that, and we're able to move on.
Yeah, well, it's nice that Rare is kind of back on real games again.
Yeah, for sure.
instead of Kinect Sports. I mean, I'm sure Kinect Sports was fine, but really.
Yeah, right.
There's some concern, too, that because Team Dakota disappeared, that maybe that's the end for Project Spark, because not only is Team Dakota disappearing, Project Spark went free, and it wasn't really the hit that everyone expected it to be. So somebody did dig up, I believe it was somewhere on Spark's official website, that they would give 6 months notice for service discontinuation.
Well, that's good.
So that hasn't happened yet. And assuming that they stick to that, Spark should still be okay.
I really hope that's the case.
Yeah, and they were, well, and it was, the thing that kind of went with that is it was down for a few days, but I guess Team Dakota, if they're still called that, was aware of it and were working on it and responding to people still. So I think Spark, at least for the time being, should still be up and running.
Good. All right. Well, let's move into the Shovelware Cemetery segment of the show. Randy, take it away.
Yeah, so really, this is just some kind of housekeeping this week. We've decided we're going to be doing Shovelware Cemetery every second week. So we did one last week, we're not going to do one this week, and we're going to do one next week, and so on. So, also something to mention, in addition to that, is Karsten from Happy Tuesday, which is there. Happy Tuesday, he clarified, when we talked about Hero Defense, I wasn't sure who the developer and the publisher was. I realized shortly after the show that I should have just looked it up. And it turns out Uber Strategist is their kind of marketing PR company. And Happy Tuesday are the developer and publisher. So we have next week, we've got an interview, should be next week, with Karsten, who is one of the developers at Happy Tuesday. And he's going to come on and talk about Hero Defense. So we're going to talk about a little bit about the game and potential for console in the future. There's also going to be a giveaway. He gave us a few codes for Hero Defense and is really interested in what our listeners have to say about potential control schemes for consoles. So that'll be cool to have him on the show, and we can maybe set up a poll or something after that show and see what ideas are out there. So start thinking.
Awesome. That's great.
We'll have some codes to give away.
So with that, part of that housekeeping thing, we got the Gamerscore Bootcamp, which we do have one this week. Terrigan was kind enough to contribute a little bit of time before he had to take off. And so he recorded a boot camp for us, but we'll alternate a boot camp with the Shovelware Cemetery is I think the plan. Now we might have some opportunities to throw some more boot camps in there, but you're gonna enjoy this one this week, and then we'll likely take next week off, and just kind of alternate to try and keep the show down. I don't know. We'll see if it works. If it doesn't, we'll just switch. But without further ado, here's this week's Gamerscore Bootcamp.
Today's Gamerscore Bootcamp is Oxenfree, a supernatural-themed point-and-click style adventure game. In this game, you steer a girl named Alex and her friends through some strange phenomena on a remote island. I don't want to give away too much of the story, as it's certainly worth playing through at least once without rushing it, but suffice to say, the game is fairly simple and mostly story-driven, with some mild puzzle and exploratory elements. The entire game will take about 10 to 12 hours to 1K if done efficiently. It is a relatively expensive ID at Xbox title, being priced at the $20 US mark, so if you are not a fan of the genre, you might want to wait for a sale. The game will require 3 complete playthroughs to get the completion, and there are 2 sets of collectibles to obtain. There is an excellent guide by Amina Zamina, JF, on true achievements for the achievement "This House is Clear." This guide is basically a full achievement walkthrough for the game, and the author was even careful to avoid spoilers as much as possible. The link for this will be in the show notes. The playthroughs can ultimately be done in any order. I personally did the strong silent type path first. You can obtain the collectibles composed of anomalies that you will tune into with your radio and letters that you will pick up on any walkthrough, but some will not be available until certain events in the game. There is a clearly defined point of no return though, so this is the ideal time to stop playing the story and go and mop these up. There are a couple of missable achievements, but these are outlined in the previously mentioned guide. One of the achievements, Renjamin Spanklin, is only recommended during a particular playthrough where you need to make enemies with everyone, so don't bother chasing this one until you are on that path. And that wraps up this week's Gamerscore Bootcamp.
Okay, now we move into Knobs and Discos. This will be a segment as long as there's things to fill it, and I mean, gaming companies aren't going to stop breaking things.
I don't think that's going to stop anytime soon with the shovelware that keeps coming out.
Yeah, we did have a Twitter comment from Kaiba Chaos. Said, for the Knobs and Discos, 3/4 Home has some glitchy achievements. Crandy, why don't you get into that a little bit?
Yeah, so 3/4 Home has a couple achievements that I believe they can stick locked, and I don't think you can fix it. So the developer wants to know your problems and wants you to post the info at a link we'll put in the show notes. So if you're having problems with 3/4 Home, let them know because they're listening, and I assume they want to fix it. If they're asking for your feedback, I would hope they want to fix it. So
sounds promising.
Yeah, hopefully that'll mean that there's a fix coming. So now we'll get into the other stuff. So we've got the Machinima app, and it was delisted. The app itself was delisted, and that usually means the achievements, since it is a service, usually when the app goes, all of the services go with it. So that's probably going to mean all of the achievements are discontinued. It hasn't been tested yet, but based on past app discontinuations, it's probably dead. So it really seems like apps are kind of disappearing. They seem to be kind of going and no new ones coming, which is kind of a shame. Even though there were 0 points, they're still kind of fun. The locked in achievement in Rock Band 4 was fixed. Harmonix, I believe they put in a new game mode or something. I don't know. You don't have to play offline anymore. So that one's fixed. You can get that one as normal. And shortly after our show last week, the Fusion Dots achievements for Windows 8 were all fixed. So you can actually earn those now, right after they got the unobtainable flag, of course. And there was talk of a Smite achievement possibly becoming discontinued. So there was an achievement for one of the characters that required you to do something with one of his abilities, and the PC patch took that ability away, and the achievement on PC was discontinued. So the pattern with Smite is that the patches on PC are almost always just nearly identical on the console version, and they come out a month later. So just in case, you might want to check that out. There's an article on TA, so check that out. It'll be in the show notes just to make sure. But that hasn't been confirmed, so maybe they'll take note and fix that before the patch comes out. And finally, the Big Leagues achievement in Call of Duty Black Ops 2 appears to be discontinued. It still needs a little bit of testing, but there has been some talk, and it's been quite some time since there have been a number of unlocks. So it's looking like that one is probably down. And
Bummer.
That concludes Knobs and Discos. So now we'll move on to the Zombie News Corner.
That's right, because we do not have any game delays or anything, but we do have zombie news, and I got a question on my friend feed from R56 Cooper S11 says, hey, are you happy with the new developer for Dead Island 2? He did say Dead Rising 2, but then Cursed Souls corrected him. Yes, Sumo Digital has taken over Dead Island 2 development. So I like this. I'm glad that it hasn't completely gone away. I'm curious how much they're going to use of the old assets. If they're, because Deep Silver, took everything. They they said, "Look, Jaeger, yeah, sorry, not happening. It's not working out."
And
So-
Deep Silver has a wonderful track record, by the way.
Right. I mean, so I'm a little nervous. This might get the Duke Nukem treatment, right? With this troubled development history.
The more appropriate one is the Ride to Hell Retribution treatment.
Oh, there you
That's
go.
a winner from Deep Silver.
So I'm hoping. I'm excited. I mean, I did like Dead Island. Dead Island 2 looked cool. It looked bigger. It looked more exciting. Sumo Digital, you might know them. So they're the people who behind Little Big Planet. It's probably their most well known. They just recently helped out quite a bit on Disney Infinity. They were doing the racing part of it, I think. Right? Or were they doing the fighting part of it?
I'm not sure. I haven't followed them too closely.
I'm pretty sure it's the racing part of it that they were doing. Helping out with the kart driving and stuff. So maybe I guess it could either way because they did work on Forza. Now they're doing work on Dead Rising. So they've got the melee and they've got the racing. I'm looking forward to it. I'm glad development has restarted. I'm really curious as to about where exactly that is in the cycle here, because who knows?
Maybe it's a reboot for Dead Island.
Could be.
I still have yet to play it. I bought the game years ago and still haven't played it. But from the kind of general things around Dead Island, I've heard it's kind of been on the decline.
A little glitchy.
On the decline.
Yeah.
So
I will.
maybe
yeah. Well, I think you can take
chance.
Escape Dead Island off the table. I mean, that's not related to this. But when you do get into it, if you're interested, I need to go back and do the arena bloodbath battle thing to close that thing out.
I definitely will be doing it at some point. After
I have
Vraw,
got. I've got some modded weapons that we can make your life real easy.
allegedly modded weapons. We don't want to condone that on the show. Okay.
I'm trying to say, how does that
Allegedly.
Yeah, and I just found
They're
it.
very,
it's amazing.
very good weapons that allegedly may be modded.
Right. Yeah. Somebody just gave it to me. They dropped it on the beach and then shot at it, and I got a few of them. And then I gave them to other people because,
If it's a weapon
I didn't need that
good,
many.
you
Yeah.
gotta share
I just found it.
Exactly.
Just found it. It's awesome. I saw an announcement today on Twitter. They had a soft launch, and it's not in my region just yet. But EA is launching Plants vs. Zombies Heroes, which, from the screens and things on the App Store, kind of makes it look like Hearthstone. Only your little face characters are different plants or zombies, and you build up. I'm excited. I need a new Plants vs. Zombies phone game. Plants vs. Zombies 2 is running out. There's only so many bathroom breaks I can take to, that thing's been out for well over a year. And I feel like they're running out of concepts. So I can only do the daily so often. So I'm looking forward to this. Plants vs. Zombies Heroes. Check your region, see if it's available on iOS or Android.
Kind of thinking they might be overdoing Plants vs. Zombies, though.
It's entirely possible.
It started off as the tower defense, and it
Quaint.
went to garden warfare, and
But they're so fun.
They are kind of fun, aren't they?
And they're so approachable for kids. I think that's the big thing. It's like,
everyone.
Yeah, but right. No, I mean, I agree with that.
If it's done right and there's a lot of effort put into it, I think it can be good. But
I mean,
if
like
not, it's just going to be like, it's another one of those quick cash-ins. Like, Plants
so
vs.
my
Zombies
son,
again.
my son and daughter have been watching this new reboot of Scooby-Doo, the Be Cool Scooby-Doo, and it's by Cartoon Network, and we watch them on demand, and they've watched, oh my god, so they both had the flu last week, so I think we watched the entire first season 5 or 6 times. I mean, we're talking that's upwards of 100 episodes.
That sounds pretty brutal.
100 episodes, of which there are only 13 episodes in the season so far. So you do the math. Yeah. I will say this. Here's my Be Cool Scooby-Doo review. Matthew Lillard obviously has now, since Casey Kasem is no longer doing Shaggy's voice, Matthew Lillard has the market cornered on Shaggy's voice. He was the live action actor who does it, and just perfect. And so he's just absolutely cornered the market on that. What's cool about this one is Scooby-Doo, actually, you can understand him much, much better, and he uses full sentences, which I appreciate. He's actually funny. He's not, it's not just the ruh-roh and just stupid crap like that. It's stuff
so he's actually, he's got more depth to his character now.
So much more personality. What did they said something about oh, I'm so hungry. Shaggy said, "Oh, I'm so hungry," and Scooby's like, "The struggle is real." I'm like, see, that's funny, right? It's a good one-liner, but it's at least a full sentence, and I don't know. Anyway, so we've been watching that, and Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare is constantly the commercial break. And my son is just salivating. It's Call of Duty for his age.
Really is, though. And everyone else loves it, too.
Yeah, absolutely. And, all right, well, the last piece of zombie news is I just saw announced today. It's a crossover between Techland and Psyonix. Rocket League is getting Dying Light DLC, so the dune buggies and stuff from Dying Light are going to be drivable cars in Rocket League, and Dying Light is getting Rocket League DLC, so you'll get decals and stuff for your scooter car in Dying Light with Rocket League decals and stuff, and I've even seen that gigantic soccer ball show up in the fields of the following. So they did a nice little fun crossover thing, and it looks like it's free. I have the Dying Light, season pass, and I just went onto the little Dockets website and was able to just download it, and it says it's ready to be available. My Rocket League skin pack. So that's kind of a fun little crossover, and it just kind of came up out of nowhere.
And
I assume it's been in the works for a while,
Rocket League
but
just came out on the one.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool.
Absolutely. Yeah, so there you go. Zombie News Corner. And I think that pretty much does it for our show. Not maybe a little over the 2, maybe. Maybe we made it under.
Pretty close.
We'll see. Once you start mashing everything together and putting all the bits. But I want to thank everybody out there for listening. We hope you enjoyed listening to it because, Crandy and I had a lot of fun doing this. But if you could help out, and it's a nice free way to help out the program, the show, us as the podcast, is to give us reviews. Reviews on iTunes, Google Play, podcast apps that you use. That helps us get noticed by people who aren't on True Achievements and following us on Twitter. That's a little broader range of maybe more mainstream people. But that being said, Twitter is a fantastic way to spread the word. Retweeting, communicating with us via Twitter, it's awesome as well. And that Twitter handle is at Z2ZZEDTOZED. Of course, we'd love for you to go to our website, Z2Z.com, where you can find all of our show notes, credits, and links to all the stuff that we've discussed during this show. Joe and Terrigan, like I said, are remarkably thorough and put some fun little Easter eggs and stuff in there because they're both sneaky, turns out. I don't know if Joe got it from Terrigan or if she's inherently sneaky herself, but both of them have been put little Easter eggs in there. Like I mentioned, you can get us on Twitter. You can get us at our website email address, contact@Z2Z.com. There is a leaderboard set up at TrueAchievements.com. We mention when the shows are coming out. If we have contests, things, that's likely a place to go as well. Of course, Facebook. We have our new Facebook page, so go like the page if you're so inclined. And that could be a wonderful resource to keep our community smaller. If you're interested in that, have some awesome discussions. Great place there as a more enclosed forum of people who listen to the podcast. It's a little bit in its infancy right now, so please stick with it and try to drum it up, because that would be an awesome place to have conversations. I do want to give a quick shout out to all of the websites that have made achievement hunting a reality, this podcast specifically, and we cannot thank TrueAchievements.com enough for all their support. Use their features and everything so much. Of course, the Achievement Hounds community and the podcast, XboxAchievements.com, the Xbox Roundtable, Macca helped out. Hey, got Snap Achievements back because he's complained. So that's fantastic as well. Of course, all those other dedicated sites that are out there